All right, good morning. As we all know, this past year, Louisville experienced an unprecedented level of violent crime. 118 people lost their lives to homicide. Over 500 people were shot. And looking at last year's violent crime in total, we saw a 9% increase as compared to the crime we saw in 2015. In an effort to make Louisville a safer city, we've done a number of things. We have more officers than ever before working in the neighborhoods that saw the most violent crime last year. We've dedicated more detectives to our narcotics division in an effort to address narcotics trafficking, which seems to be connected, at least in part, to the violent crime that we've been seeing. And we formed a task force with our federal law enforcement partners, the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, and the United States Marshals Service, along with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, to better coordinate our efforts as we work to identify, arrest, and prosecute this community's most violent offenders. We're here today to talk about our task force operations. We're calling our task force the Louisville Metro Intelligence Task Force. It is referred to as intelligence because our efforts are intelligence-driven, based on information about where crime is occurring, when it is occurring, and who we believe to be involved. In short, we are referring to this as LMINTEL, L-M-I-N-T-E-L, LMINTEL. The task force has only been in operation for a short period of time, but we're already making a significant difference. In the first 2 weeks of operation, the task force worked together to find and arrest people who had already committed violent crimes in our community. These are people who are wanted or were wanted on warrants for their criminal actions. The task force members fanned out across this community and knocked on literally hundreds of doors in an effort to arrest these people. They served 111 warrants on 82 people. These were warrants for murder, robbery, assault, the illegal possession of firearms, narcotics trafficking and narcotics possession. Among those arrested were 4 people on Louisville's most wanted list. Along the way, the task force also seized guns and narcotics. We're here today to publicly demonstrate our collective commitment to work together and to say that this is only the start of great things to come. We are dedicated to work together to do whatever we can to make Louisville a safer community. That said, we can never be truly successful without the community's help and the community's support. As always, we need information from the community to make arrests in our cases. We need their support. We need their involvement. We need them to join us in taking a stand against the violent crime that continues to plague our community. I am convinced that by working together, we can make a significant difference. This morning, I'd like to recognize and thank the leadership from the federal law enforcement agencies that have been committed to this effort. First, I want to recognize the United States Attorney for the Western District of Kentucky, John Kuhn. I want to recognize from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Stuart Lowry. I want to recognize from the Drug Enforcement Administration, Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Tom Gorman. From the FBI, the Special Agent in Charge, Amy Hess. And from the United States Marshals Service, the United States Marshal for the Western District of Kentucky, Jim Clark. I also need to and want to recognize Louisville Metro Corrections. As you might imagine, when you're out knocking on lots of doors, trying to make what turns out to be lots of arrests, corrections was a big part of it. They dedicated officers to help us actually out with those task force operations. The Metro Corrections Director, Mark Bolton, is unavailable to be here with us today, but we have the Assistant Director for Metro Corrections, Wayne Clark. Thank you very much for your help and assistance, sir. I also want to recognize and thank Tom Wan, our Commonwealth Attorney. He has been a continuing partner. He has been involved. He's provided leadership and continued support. Finally, I want to recognize our 9th Mobile Division. We have over here is Major Kevin Thompson. Major Thompson is the commander of the 9th Mobile Division, and Lieutenant Billy Hibbs. Lieutenant Hibbs is the assistant director of the 9th Mobile Division. Lieutenant Hibbs has actually been tasked with leading our task force efforts, along with a number of detectives. They will be working on task force operations full time. Now I'd like to invite a number of our partners up to say a few words. First, I'd like to invite our United States Attorney for the Western District of Kentucky, John Kuhn, to the podium.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome, sir.
Good morning. I'd like to begin by thanking Chief Conrad. I'd like to thank him for his leadership in bringing us all together and giving us an opportunity to join together for more effective law enforcement against the scourge of gun violence in our community. Chief Conrad has brought us together with this task force, LMINTEL, which gives us a unique opportunity to collaborate. We'll be sharing leads, intelligence, information from all the federal agencies, as well as from LMPD, to build better cases against the most violent criminals that are responsible for the gun violence. Those cases will be evaluated by Tom Wine and by my office to determine whether we can have more effective prosecutions in the federal system or the state system. We'll be looking to build large, complex federal cases against the most violent offenders in our community, so that we can send them to federal prison where there's no prospect of parole. This problem, as you all know, is very complicated, very complex. It is, in some respects, a new problem. The causes of the current surge in violence, not only in Louisville, Kentucky, but also other major urban centers, are in some respect new. They come from social problems, economic problems, and as well as law enforcement problems. To be sure, this is a problem that law enforcement must grapple with, and that's what LMINTEL is all about. But our larger community and other areas of public services have to get involved to solve this. This problem didn't arise overnight. It's not going to be solved overnight, but we're going to step in to explore more innovative and effective solutions on the law enforcement side to do something about this. And for that, I thank, again, Chief Conrad, and I thank, too, our federal partners that are joining this, as well as Tom Wine. And next, I believe, Amy Hess, Special Agent in charge of FBI, would like to speak.
Hi. Good morning. I'm Amy Hess from the FBI. So the increase in violent crime and homicides we know is not unique to Louisville. We've seen a surge in street violence across the board in a handful of cities across the United States, according to our Uniform Crime Reporting Program. Now, there are a lot of theories about what's causing this increase, and the FBI is working with our federal, state, and local partners you see here to uncover the root causes of this violence so we can tackle it at its infancy. I think it would be irresponsible of us to not get involved, to view this as simply a local crime problem, because this is our community, and it'll require a community effort from all of us. We at the FBI are committed to joining in the fight against violent crime and gangs. We recognize that we can't just come in and make a splash and then disappear and leave. We must make a collective, persistent effort in order to make an impact. Combating the gang and violent crime problem in Louisville is everybody's responsibility, as the U.S. Attorney outlined. We work closely with LMPD and our other federal, state, and local partners on a daily basis, and our hope is to leverage federal resources, FBI resources, and prosecution at the federal level in order to address the most significant threats and remove them from the equation. That said, we know law enforcement will never arrest its way out of this problem. It's going to take community engagement at every level, including by our citizens. As Director Comey stated, Our mission is not to take out just one or two offenders, but to rescue the neighborhoods that are plagued by this issue. But we need the help of the community, the citizens, to win this fight. If a citizen sees something or knows something, then we need them to say something about it, to call LMPD, to call the FBI, to call any of us that you see here today. We ask Louisvillians to carry this vigilance to the community, to the workplace, to schools, to churches, and to their families and social events. We know the level of violence is concentrated in a small area of the city. That area is made up of hardworking and honest people who deserve to live in a neighborhood where their children can play safely, where they can walk down the street without the fear of getting shot, where they can attend community events and not worry about whether they're going to make it home. We must leverage our resources, all of our resources, in the most effective way possible to complement the efforts outlined here today by Chief Conrad and LMPD. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite our Commonwealth Attorney, Tom Wine, to the podium to speak.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And like Mr. Kuhn, I would also like to thank the chief, and particularly as well as the men and women who serve in Louisville Metro Police Department. They're on the lines every day, and they're making tremendous sacrifices. And it goes beyond just what you've heard today as far as making the arrest. My appeal is to the community as well when it comes time to prosecute those cases. It doesn't matter that the police are doing a great job. What matters is when we hit the courtroom. And I've seen some statements, great statements given by witnesses. Police have done a great job securing the evidence, only to have those witnesses come into court and say, I don't remember, I never said that, even though we've got a recorded statement from them. The community needs to step up. We're locking up the wrong people. When a mother or father can't send their kid out to the grocery store for fear they're going to get killed at a drive-by shooting, they lock themselves up, and we're locking up the wrong people. The community is locking itself up, and the community needs to step out, and the community needs to be heard. And they need to be heard when they help the police and when they help the prosecution. In my 36 years in various forms in the criminal justice system, we've never seen anything like this. I was looking at a report the other day with a neighborhood canvass after a shooting. It used to be every neighbor heard or saw something that led to solving that case. And now the next door neighbor heard and saw nothing. The people in the community heard and saw nothing. That's not going to solve this problem. So our appeal again is to the community that come out. When I first started, Mr. David Hale was then the U.S. Attorney, reached out and said, we'd like to work with you. And we decided to cooperate with them. It's the first time in a long time there's been a cooperative effort between the federal and local authorities. And this is just a logical extension of that. Each time we get together and work and use intelligence, we can target the criminals. And these are criminals regardless of race, gender, ethnicity. These are people who we need to target for the protection of the community. Thank you.
And finally, I'd like to invite Lieutenant Billy Hibbs to the podium to talk a bit about the first 2 weeks of the task force operation in a little more detail.
Good morning. We started off with 277 felony warrants. We had more than that, but we broke it down to the individuals who were wanted for the most violent. Out of the 277 individuals with felony warrants, we knocked on 344 doors, and we served a total of 111 warrants. 77 were felony, 34 were misdemeanor. Most of those we encountered as we were looking for felons. We also made 16 fresh arrests and seized numerous guns and 13.5 pounds of marijuana. One of the arrests was for a fresh wanton endangerment warrant, where a pregnant female was pushed to the ground, strangled to the point she lost consciousness, and kicked in the back while trying to escape. She was also threatened multiple times with her life. We caught that individual within about 5 days of the incident. We also attempted service of another felony warrant in one of the targeted areas, and we encountered a father and son team, one of which was a convicted felon. They were in possession of 2 handguns, one of which was defaced, and again, 13.5 pounds of marijuana. We apprehended another subject for a 2015 murder warrant. I can't get into the specifics of the case. It's an ongoing situation. And we also arrested three other individuals who were freshly wanted for attempted murder charges. One individual we caught hours after the actual incident, one individual days after with a weapon. We arrested, our oldest warrant was for an assault second warrant, and that was from 1994. So we had 4 murder charges, 24 wanton endangerment charges, 30 assault charges, 13 robbery charges, 11 gun charges, 5 burglary charges, 1 rape, 8 trafficking charges in narcotics, 1 arson case, 2 hindering. Individuals were hiding someone in the house when we proved the subject was there, and an assortment of miscellaneous charges. Over 10 days, we, as I said, 111 warrants, 77 felon, 34 misdemeanors. There were 82 individuals arrested. Are there any questions?
That 2015 murder, can you give us the suspect's name?
I can't give you anything on it. I'm sorry. I have it, but I can't give you anything on it. I can't do that.
He's been arrested, hasn't he?
Mhm.
Before he's in, there's an arrest slip on him?
There is.
Question is, we got to 118 murders last year, and all you talked about these groups working together, sharing information. I guess, why wasn't this happening sooner?
You know, actually, it was. We have been working cooperatively and collectively for a number of years. And the thing that we have done that is different is actually pull everyone together under the same roof. We had been working and sharing information and, again, doing what we could to try to identify and arrest our most violent offenders. And in some cases, arrests were made and cases are moving forward in the courts. But this is the first time that we've actually had everyone together working under one roof in such a coordinated and collaborative fashion.
How does that change things? What does bringing everybody into the same place do?
I think you have an enhanced coordination of effort, enhanced information sharing, and making sure that we are coming at the problems that we see in our neighborhoods from our own individual areas of expertise. ATF brings the opportunity to explore and exploit weapons violations. The DEA, obviously, narcotics trafficking, which we see at the heart of much of what is occurring. The FBI and their expertise in criminal investigation, and also helping us with the analytical work that helps us understand the networks and the social networks that tie people together, that allow us to build conspiracy cases or racketeering cases, depending on which court those cases are prosecuted. And there is no one better in the world than the United States Marshals Office in terms of trying to pick up people who are wanted on criminal cases. So this is a chance for us all to be working together in the same office.
How many personnel are on the task force from each agency?
I'm not going to go into those level of specifics, and to be honest with you, it is going to be situationally dependent. There are task force officers that are working as part of this operation, and in other situations, the involvement will depend on the type of investigation that we're working.
Are these local gangs, or are they part of a bigger network?
These are local criminals that are involved in violent crime. There may, in some cases, be gang connections. In other cases, there may not.
It sounds like your task force has had quite a bit of success over its first 2 weeks. Where do you see this going long term in the next 3 months, 6 months, year?
You know, this was truly the low-hanging fruit. People that we knew were already out there, people who were already wanted. The hard work really starts now, and that is focusing in on these most violent offenders and doing what we can to build successful cases that can be prosecuted at either the federal or the state level, which we believe will have the opportunity to disrupt much of the narcotics trafficking that we see in our community and the violent crime that goes along with that.
Are the members of the task force, do they wear uniforms out in the neighborhoods?
The operations that we've been involved on in the last 2 weeks, the 9th Mobile Division personnel have been wearing the uniform that they wear all the time. The members of the task force from the federal agencies have been wearing their raid jackets that indicate their involvement with the task force and also the agency with whom they are connected.
You mentioned that the issues that are being tackled here are concentrated in certain neighborhoods. What is the message to the people that live in these neighborhoods that they're not going to be profiled or harassed just for where they live?
You know, our efforts are entirely focused in on people's behaviors, not the color of their skin or their gender or their religion or any other factor. This is about focusing in on what people are doing, and that is really the beauty of having an intelligence-led effort. We have information, and we are working on information that we believe particular people involved in criminal activities, and that's something that we're going to be able to show and prove in court if we get to the point of making an arrest.
Could you
Chief,
share
are
what
these
surveillance
numbers-
tools you're using?
I'm sorry?
Could you share what surveillance tools you're using?
No, sir. That would jeopardize our operations. Yeah, but
Oh, are these numbers strictly the new task force, or are they also 9th Mobile combined?
these are strictly the operation of the task force over the last 2 weeks.
And are there data analysts that are going to be helping to get that intel that you've added specifically for this task force?
Yes, there are.
And at the real-time crime center?
One out of the real-time crime center, and the FBI is also allowing us to use some of their analytical efforts and support.
Of the 82 arrests you've made, I know you, U.S. Attorney Kuhn and Tom Leitner, that there was going to be some decision on whether or not they would be state or federal charges. How far along on those 82 is that process? Or can you say?
The warrants that were served, and correct me if I'm wrong, were all state warrants? All of the cases so far, these were warrants that had already been issued, and they will be prosecuted at the state level, which would fall under the jurisdiction of Mr. Wine.
Could Mr. Wine, upon review, defer them to federal if more things come up in his?
Yeah. Let me kind of get back to your question about what's different. And I'm probably going to, I know the quote, and I may misquote who said it, but I believe it was Ronald Reagan said, "You'd be surprised how much you can get done when you don't care who gets the credit." I think for a long time in the law enforcement community, like lots of other communities where there are federal and state actors, there's always concern about who's the big brother, who's the little brother. We don't have that. We understand that we have to cooperate with each other. The criminals are cooperating with each other. They may compete on certain areas, but they know how to cooperate. We're not in competition with each other. We're cooperating with each other. So when these cases come in, there's going to be a review by the task force. Where's the best place to send them? There's a small band of cases that are going to go to the feds because of the federal guidelines. They're going to be restricted how many of those can go up. The bulk of it's going to fall on us, and we understand that. So we're asking, when I first started back in 2013, one of the first things I did, because it's not a recent phenomena, is reconstitute a violent criminal prosecution unit in our office. We're going to add to that with another prosecutor. We don't know when the dam's going to break, quite frankly. We know it's there. We know the arrests are going to be made, and we know people are going to be prosecuted. We got to be in front of it before the dam breaks. And so that's the cooperative effort with the U.S. Attorney's Office, between the federal agencies and the LMPD. That's what it's all about, is cooperation.
What would you say to the person who thinks that I haven't been arrested yet, I got away with it?
You know, that's a great thing, because when you least expect it, it's going to happen. And to those individuals, if they're out there on these small warrants, obviously they should be turning themselves in. They should be contacting their lawyers as quickly as they can. But they're going to be arrested. And we're going to work with the courts. That's one of the arms that's not here. Obviously, the courts have to be involved in setting the bonds. We're going to be working with probation and parole. It's important that once these people are arrested and convicted, that probation and parole sees the danger to our community, and that they don't release people at the earliest possibility. There are people who need to stay in a long, long time. And the chief understands that. Mr. Kuhn understands that there are some things beyond our control. We've got to make sure we got the right message to the courts and to the corrections officials. We didn't talk about it, but you know, corrections right now is at about 2,200. Is that fair, Dwayne? 2,200 people in a facility that's built for 1,793. So we're way over capacity. The governor and the Department of Corrections needs to get on the ball. With all due respect, they need to get these prisoners that we're holding out of our facilities so that we can place these people who are a danger to our local community into those cells. So we need the cooperation of the state authorities as well.
Thank you. With that, we're done. Thank you.
How long is the task force going to operate for?
Do you have a duration? When is the task force going to be broken up, or how long does this last?
There is no time limit at this point. We will continue to work together in this collaborative fashion for as long as necessary to achieve our goals, which is making our community safer.
This has been a Metro TV production, a public service of Louisville Metro government.